can share this.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning,
hi.
everyone.
Hi, are you talking to me?
I'm just talking like I'm changing what I say.
Oh, I see. I
Good
gotcha.
morning, everyone.
Gotcha. Oh, I'm hearing an echo. Oh,
Because you logged into the.
it's like the phone is playing it.
No, that's coming from your phone. That phone.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yep, maybe it is. Okay. we are trying.
I want to share the link to the live feed.
I was trying to do that. I guess I don't know how to do that.
That's okay. Well, you're logged into yourself.
Mhm.
I think you could do that.
So I have to do it not when it's open, maybe. I got it. Figured it.
You figured it out.
Yes. Want me to tag you?
Yeah, that'll work. And
Okay.
I'll share it too. I think I can share.
Okay. This is riveting.
It's exciting. Well, we're trying to get people to share now. Custom. Share now. Share
Okay.
to your timeline.
Is the Instagram one live as well?
I think so.
I don't see it.
All right. So you're gonna handle comments today, right?
I'm gonna try.
You're gonna try.
Yes.
Okay. You ready
Okay.
to hit the record on the microphone?
I'm ready.
All right.
We have Norma Jean and a cat with us.
Oh, that could be dangerous.
I don't know how
Like
that's gonna
super
go.
dangerous.
And not Everett, because Everett didn't want to come in. So we'll see how this goes.
We'll see what happens.
Okay.
We hope the audio is good with everybody. Good morning, world. We are going to hit record and start our podcast.
I think the Instagram one is live. I don't know where it is. Can't find it.
Okay.
But
It says we're live,
it says it.
and some people are watching, I think.
Okay.
So
I'll work on that.
I will tell everyone that we have some special content during the podcast break that you guys will only be exposed to and have a chance to listen to on the live stream.
We do?
So you should be excited. Hang out to the break, and you will get some special content only for Facebook and Instagram live viewers.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yes.
I feel like you're going to be more on your phone now.
Well, if you want me to handle the comments, I
That's
have
true.
to be. But also, I really can't find the Instagram link. Can't see it.
Oh.
Are we
But-
live?
Yeah, it says we're live.
I won't be able to handle the comments.
It
I'll
says
try to
we're
close
live.
it down. Okay.
Okay, you ready?
Mhm.
In 3, 2. Hi, and welcome to the Changing Perspectives podcast, the show where we discuss a variety of topics, including grief, parenting, pop culture, and relationships. Join us and explore a number of changing perspectives. We're your hosts, Jenny and Josh Brennan. Well, good morning, Jenny.
Good morning. Did you just get way louder?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
I don't think I turned anything up. Well, welcome to episode 70, everyone, and welcome to the live audience that is listening and watching on the Facebook and Instagram. If you haven't had the chance to, if you're a podcast only listener after the fact, if you haven't had a chance to join us for the live streams, this is our third one, and we advertised it a couple days ago just so you would know when we would go live, so you maybe can plan your morning around it. Hope everybody is enjoying the live streams. And I will say, Jenny, exciting stuff. If you are a live stream watcher, you're going to get some extra content today. During the podcast break, when we do a break in the recording, we will do a little bit of extra content. I have a special activity for you during that time, Jenny.
Oh.
So if you're listening to this after the fact and you didn't get a chance to watch it live, maybe we'll be on the lookout for the next live stream and you will get some extra content.
Okay.
Awesome. So you had your newsletter contest ended.
I did.
And you had a winner.
I did.
Yeah.
But it's on the other phone. So.
That's fine.
Oh no, it is on.
So
I'm still trying to
Might
figure
have been
out.
on Instagram.
We might be broadcasting live on my personal Instagram.
Oh,
Maybe.
that's fun.
Maybe. I guess I could find my personal one, but I think it's personal.
We can switch it.
Maybe. Hmm.
So you had a newsletter contest winner, and that person gets to select a local vendor of their choice to receive a $20 gift card.
Local to them.
Local
not
to them,
us.
local
Yes.
to them, so
Yeah.
wherever they are in the world. But everyone else, if you didn't get a chance to participate in that contest, I'm sure there will be some additional contests down the road that you can participate in. But if you haven't done so already, please sign up for Jenny's newsletter. It's exciting stuff. Your next installment's coming soon. Is it your first installment?
Yeah.
It's your first installment.
Tomorrow or today.
Yeah.
It's ready. I can't decide when to send it out.
By the time this drops, the newsletter will be out.
Correct.
Yeah.
But it's not too late to sign up. So you can just
Yeah.
go to jennybrennan.com, Jenni, brennan.com, and sign up.
Yes, sign up for the newsletter. Another little bit of housekeeping, I just wanted to take an opportunity and recognize and shout out a charity that I am participating in right now. I am about to, actually today, as of this recording, the virtual Falmouth Road Race here in Falmouth, Massachusetts, well, not really Falmouth, kind of all over the world, is launching. You have basically 2 weeks to run your 7 miles. This is the second time I've run the Falmouth. I ran the first one about 5 years ago. So I've been training and running a lot, and now the Falmouth has begun, but I'm running for a great charity called Road to Responsibility, and I wanted to invite everyone to take a look at their website. They're local to New England, but of course they could use support from all over. roadtoresponsibility.org. Their mission is to provide the means, opportunity, and support necessary to allow citizens with disabilities to take their place as productive members of the community. Their services include day services, residential services, and social services. So I'm running the virtual Falmouth Road Race on behalf of the Road to Responsibility team, and all proceeds we're trying to raise some funds to support that great cause. And if you're interested to support my race, you can head over to Dizzy Bird Studios on Facebook. That's facebook.com/Dizzy Bird Studios, and you can check out the link to support me in the virtual Falmouth Road Race. There's still time to donate.
The what?
I'm struggling over the word virtual.
No, you're struggling over road.
Road race.
So that's like railroad.
Railroad,
You have a
yeah.
hard time saying railroad.
Maybe
You
I
also
missed-
have a hard time saying road race.
Maybe I missed an opportunity
Road
to
race.
go to speech therapy when I was little.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Nothing wrong with that.
But anyway, so if you're interested to support me in that, head over to Dizzy Bird Studios on Facebook, and you can click on the link to donate.
Cool.
Yeah.
I
How are you
really,
doing over there?
and I really don't have any idea where this Instagram live is broadcasting.
Huh.
So all I can think is that maybe it is my personal one.
Well, we can end it.
No, we can keep it, and then I think I can like download it and share it
Okay.
later. So
During the break, we can end your personal one and start a new one for changing perspectives.
we could try that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Excellent.
Could be user error.
Well, I've talked a lot. Do you have anything to say? Any housekeeping items for the
I
changing
know that is
perspectives?
enough
I
housekeeping
know,
items.
that's
That's a lot.
Okay. Well, what are we talking about today, Jenny?
I don't know.
You don't know.
You're the content person.
I am.
Video games.
Video games.
Right. So I feel like this originally started as like we should do another parenting
Well, you
episode.
yelled at me at the last episode because I was talking. I brought up
That's
video
right.
games.
That's where it came
and
from.
you said, stop talking.
That's right. And you said something the last episode that reminded me of. Oh right, I'm supposed to be reading the comments.
That's okay.
But
You
I
talk
can't
about
read
it.
the
Yeah,
I can't read the Instagram comments. That was supposed to. You said something that reminded me of a continuing education course I took maybe a year and a half ago about addiction in massive online role playing games, specifically
Don't
that
hurt yourself.
MMO RPG role play games. Mhm.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
And it was really fascinating, really kind of dense. Like to go through that training would be a lot for a podcast episode, but I think it was worth having a discussion around. And so yeah, that's what we're talking about. As I was sort of going through this week, and it was kind of at the back of my brain, I also realized that this is also somewhat relevant for some couples, because this comes up in some sessions
Right.
sometimes with me and some of my clients. Is
I was
you know,
actually going to ask you about it.
is that a question? I have no idea what you've prepped
No,
for
it's
questions.
fine. I'm
But
glad you
it
brought
comes
it up
up
now,
as
but-
an issue, a potential issue. So I think we can also talk about it within the context of relationships. That's
Awesome.
it.
Well, yeah, I think this could be a parenting episode, pop culture episode, and a little bit of relationship as
Mhm.
well.
Mhm.
So I wanted to start off with the differences in gaming versus from yesterday, like past when we were kids, to today. Let's talk a little bit about the history. What did you play when you were a kid? Did you game? Were you a gamer as a child? Did you play video games?
Were gamers a thing when we were children?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm sure.
But that wasn't a term.
Did you see The Wizard, that movie?
No. If you say to Jenny,
Fred
did you
Savage.
see, and then
Fred
fill in
Savage?
the blank of a movie,
He was a
90% of the time the answer is going to be no. And 5% is going to be, I don't remember. And the other 5% is going to be, yes, I love that movie.
Fred Savage in The Wizard
Nope.
was like the OG 80s gamer, I
Mm-mm.
think, for me.
No way.
Maybe.
Nope.
But what did you play? Did you play?
I feel like we had an Atari.
I don't think you did. You? I don't
Well, before you. I did
I
have a
know.
life before you.
know. Wait, we weren't born
And then-
together.
no.
And were married at birth.
No. Atari? Yeah. I don't remember any games on Atari, but that had like a joystick, right? I'm picturing it.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah, it did.
And then we had Nintendo, and yeah, I actually have some sentimental memories about video games from when I was younger. My dad would like work a night shift and then come home in the morning on a weekend, and we would like hang out in the living room and play video games. Like I remember playing Duck Hunt. I really loved Mario Brothers, all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And Jeopardy. We would play Jeopardy. I think that those were all on Nintendo. I don't remember any other games, but yeah, I played video games.
Awesome.
What about you? Did you have Sega? I feel like all the cool kids had Sega. But I
wasn't
don't
a
think
cool
you were a
kid.
cool
What are you
kid.
talking
No, so I know.
about?
So I asked that, and then I thought back that you wouldn't fit the
Thanks.
mold. So did you have
For
Sega?
half a second, I was like, "Oh, Jenny thinks I'm cool." No. Well, can I go back to The Wizard for a second?
Oh,
Yes,
why?
1989. This was the movie that launched. It was like a big advertisement for. It was like the king of product placement. It was when Nintendo released Super Mario 3 for the first time.
Oh, and it was
Yeah,
in like the
It was
Wizard.
in the movie.
Hmm.
Yeah, it says, for those that don't know The Wizard, Fred Savage, 1989, a boy and his brother run away from home and hitch cross country, sounds very unsafe, with the help of a girl they meet to compete in the ultimate video game championship. So yeah, I think Fred Savage is a gamer from the 80s for sure. Yeah, we were a little late to the party with Nintendo.
You mean your family?
My family growing up. Yeah, I think we got it a little bit after everyone else did. But yeah, we were big Super Mario fans. Duck Hunt was fun. Super Mario 2.
I was
Yeah.
good at Duck Hunt. I remember the dog in Duck Hunt.
Oh yeah, he laughed a little bit.
Yeah.
Right?
What about in television? Is that before all of this?
That's before. I have the whole timeline. Don't jump. I have a timeline. I prepped. I did some prep.
Nobody cares about the history.
Everybody cares.
About the history of video games?
I have something.
Yes, the people
very
that listen to
interesting.
podcasts about the history of toilet paper probably also care about the history of.
Do you know that Stuff You Should Know just released short stuff on the @ symbol?
Oh my god.
I'm gonna a little bit later today. I'll tell you all about the @
I don't want to
symbol.
know. I don't want to know. Okay, I'm
And on-
busy. A little bit later on today, I'm busy.
And on my run this morning, I learned about wasps.
Fascinating. We're also not getting wasps.
Oh no, we're not getting wasps. They're
Okay.
a little dangerous. Anyway, in television, yes, was before, but for Nintendo, yeah, huge Super Mario fans. Love Super Mario 3. That was fun. But yes, we became. I can't remember if it was. I have to look at the timeline, but we had the N64 at some point because we had GoldenEye. There's a bunch of
Is that a James
There's a bunch
Bond
of guys
thing?
my age going, like, jumping up and down, going, yes, listening to this right now. James Bond GoldenEye, it was like it was kind of like one of the first, not the first, I guess, one of the best first-person shooters. It was a lot like Call of Duty or Medal of Honor or something like that. But that's what it was great. And then, of course, Sonic, we had all the Sonic games for Sega, so we got Sega as well. So
You
Sega,
did have Sega.
Yeah.
Okay.
we had Sega.
We never had Sega.
And 64, and then the Nintendo, the regular NES system.
Did you ever have a Game Boy?
I didn't. I think my brother did. What's funny is I think my dad bought a Game Boy.
It's not funny.
Well, like
Well,
himself.
we're going to get into this content. Also, as I got older, I was really into, was it Medal of Honor?
Yes.
I-
We're gonna get there.
So I got
because-
into those
yeah.
first person like shooter
We
war
had like
games.
from basically junior high until post college, I didn't really touch a video game, I don't think, unless I was at an arcade or something.
I don't,
Um,
but then you and I became kind of gamers.
We did, like after college. I
Was it
think.
when we moved to Colorado?
Right before and right, yeah.
And
right
then maybe
after.
we got like a PlayStation or something. And then we would play Grand Theft Auto
Yes,
together.
yeah.
And maybe Call of Duty or Medal of Honor
Medal
or
of
something
Honor.
like that.
And then, what's that? Sly Cooper.
Oh my god, that might be my
Yeah.
favorite video game ever.
That
Cute
was
little
great. It was
raccoon.
PlayStation
Maybe this is
2.
why I like raccoons so much.
Maybe.
Hmm.
Yeah. PlayStation
And it's
2,
like a
Sly Cooper.
psychodynamic theory, deep-rooted, positive memory about raccoons.
I remember being and that's an interesting piece about video games is when you're in it, it's like the best graphics ever, right?
Like in the moment.
In the moment when you're in it, right?
Well, like
I
dial-up AOL way back when was like, this is awesome.
Well, when I remember playing Sly Cooper for the first time, I'm like, wow, it's like I'm playing a cartoon. Like I am inside of a cartoon playing it. They don't look like video game
Did
characters.
Jacob say the other day that there's a Sly Cooper like reboot or something on another?
I think he might have said that. Yeah,
Another
we'll have
thing.
to take a look.
All right, so I feel like this is very non-directional right now. Where are we going with this topic?
That's okay. This was that.
Okay.
That was the point. I have a note. Our favorite as a kid. That's what we're talking.
Okay, all right.
But there's so many when we were kids, Jenny. There were so many multiplayer games for one console, right? Like you have your one console, and you could have friends over, and you could play 2-player Mario, or 3-player whatever. Like you could play multiplayer
On one system.
on one system, one console, and it was
Ooh,
game.
Mike says not in television, ColecoVision. ColecoVision?
Oh,
I've
I don't
never
think
heard of
I know
that.
that.
That's super fancy.
Ooh, that's like next level.
Yeah, we weren't cool.
Which Mike? Is
Mike Pearson.
that? No. Okay.
I
Nice.
think Mike was way cooler than we were. Mike
Could
is
be.
still way cooler
Yeah,
than we
yeah.
are.
Yeah, that's very true.
Um,
But game cartridges, right? Like you had game cartridges, and you had to blow on them for the Nintendo, and they were they're now it's discs. Now it's actually something completely different, downloads. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. But what do you think the first video game was?
I don't care. I love you. But
Really?
I,
That's not how podcasts work. I
but
asked
that's
you a
not
question.
our topic. Our topic
What do
is
you
not the
think?
history of video games.
Well, that's how we started. Did you do content or did I do the content?
Pac-Man. I'm gonna go with Pac-Man.
You think Pac-Man is the first video game?
I'm gonna guess that's wrong. So now I want to go with Tetris.
I'm gonna like the first like popularly recognized first video game, quote unquote first video game.
Mario Brothers.
Is anybody on the Facebook feed answering? Because I bet someone knows.
No,
No. Pong.
I don't even know what that is.
Pong. It's like
Is
the
that the
tennis
stupid
game.
ball that
Yeah,
goes back and forth?
Goes back and forth. It was released in 1972. It was kind of the birth of.
It's like Minesweeper. I don't.
Yeah.
It's boring.
It was kind of the birth of arcade games, which led to people wanting at-home versions.
But would
Pong was-
pinball machines be before that? Yes, right.
Yeah, but that's not really video games.
I know, but
yeah.
was that like a precursor? Okay.
I guess it would be to arcade games, but there was some stuff in the 50s that were like the first computer-based game. There's like they looked at it and it wasn't accessible to anybody. It was like scientists and labs that would be able to like create these basically electronic versions of board games like tic-tac-toe or something like that. But the real true first computer game or arcade game, video game was Pong.
So in terms of tying it back to our topic,
Mhm.
it seems like you have a different topic in mind here.
We're gonna go back to the
You want to do like a stuff you should know about video games, which is cool. I just didn't know that's what we were doing. All of that, like that sort of basic core history. There was probably not a real lot of concern about addiction or it sort of
Yeah.
becoming a central part of people's lives because it wasn't really accessible.
Right.
Right, like it wasn't so easy to have it in your home. And then when it was in your home, it was one disc, one game, you beat the levels, the game is over, right?
Yeah,
There's not
right.
like this, you have to buy more and more and more. I think as we sort of probably moved through high school, so maybe the 90s, maybe late 80s, there started to be like cheat codes and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
people could buy books or download stuff for cheat codes. So that sort of expanded. But now, like, the world of video gaming is very different.
Very
Right?
different.
Like the actual video games themselves. So when we're talking about sort of like when people are researching, is it addictive? Does it sort of send off the same sort of chemical reactions in your brain as like heroin? And the answer is yes for a lot of these like MMORPG games.
Mhm.
Yes, because it's vastly different than like sitting down at a bar in the 90s and playing Pac-Man.
Yeah.
Putting your quarters in
Right,
and
right.
playing Pac-Man. Not that it wasn't a problem for some people, because I'm sure anything is, but very different than where we are today.
Very different.
I don't know where I was going with that, but just
No, and I think with the increase in accessibility comes a whole new slew of potential issues.
in
And,
period, regardless of what the topic is.
We again, and Jenny, yes, we are going to take this episode to that area of discussing
Okay.
addiction and
Like,
potential
is it a problem?
downfalls. Is it a problem? And I have some articles to share, and I'm a couple of good articles from Psychology Today that I really like that I want to share. But do you know what the first commercial
Probably no.
home video game what would you guess is the first commercial home video game console?
Like that people would have in their home.
They would buy and put them in their homes.
Well, I would have guessed Atari earlier than that. So then I would have guessed Intellivision, which I really had never heard about until we watched The Americans.
I
And the
grew up
little
with
boy broke
Intellivision.
into someone's house. Actually, so I guess I have to take that back, right? Because on that show, hopefully it's no spoilers because it's like 5 years old.
Yeah, it's like
Um,
season 1. Though.
Yeah, the boy who's probably 8 or 9 in that season breaks into the neighbor's home because they have Intellivision and he wants to play, and then he kind of
There
gets
it is.
addicted to it. So
There
I guess
it is. Video games beget violence, right?
it didn't violently break. It wasn't a home
Well, it's
invasion. He broke
Breaking
in.
and entering, right?
So it begets maybe breaking the law.
Yeah.
He's a child.
Crime.
Crime.
Video games equal crime.
I don't think so. I disagree.
I'm kidding. I'm being very facetious.
I know. Where was I going with that though? Oh, so I
A
would
lot
have
of
said
people
Intellivision.
guess
So I'm going to guess
Intelli-
something before Intellivision.
I think a lot of people guess Atari, but it's actually something called. Does anybody know on the Facebook? I'll give people about 10 seconds. Does anybody know? Anybody answering?
No, I will tell you. I'm monitoring the
Okay.
feeds.
It's the Magnavox Odyssey.
That's not a thing.
Yeah, it's the first commercial home video game console in 1972. I guess it didn't really take off because nobody really knows.
Did you like
but-
hook it up to your TV with like the rabbit ears and like the channel selector thing? That was me changing
was
the
that?
channels.
Yes, I guess you would. Yeah, same with Atari, like
Huh.
a video, like a VCR or something. But I have a timeline for video game systems, and I thought it'd be interesting
I'm
to
ready
share.
for a nap.
You ready for a nap?
Mhm.
People are excited about this
excited about this.
content.
Okay.
Yes,
All right, go.
this is an exciting topic for people.
Who
And they
like
want to know the
these.
history.
Okay, go ahead.
So, the Magnavox Odyssey, along with Pong, and what did Mike say a little while ago?
ColecoVision?
Oh, there's something Coleco Telstar. Maybe that's the same thing.
Well, probably. ColecoVision, so Coleco Telstar. probably the same thing.
1972, and then you have Atari and Intellivision in 1976, and lo and behold, the
Did we say color vision? We do have a guess about color vision.
no, I don't see that. I don't see that on the list here. So Nintendo started in 1983, and then Atari released another updated game console, and then you had Sega Genesis in 1987.
Sega.
Super Nintendo in 1987, between 1987 and 2000. And then 1993 to 2006, Sega Saturn. I remember that. And then PlayStation, the PlayStation OG launched, and of course N64, Nintendo 64. And then you had the Dreamcast in 1998. PlayStation 2 came out. They basically split this timeline up into phases, and this phase, 1998 to 2013, you have GameCube, Xbox, PlayStation 2. For me, like, that really launched the next level, like the next step up from your N64, your PlayStation, your Sega Genesis, Nintendo systems.
What was that? What launch?
PlayStation 2 and Xbox, like that launch. Those two, that sort of,
Xbox
ushered in
was
a
like
new-
the Nintendo, right? And
Microsoft is Xbox.
So it was total brand new entry
Brand new.
into that.
Brand new
Okay.
entry, yeah. And they sort of changed the game a little bit. And I probably pushed Sony to do even more.
Sony does PlayStation.
So your 7th generation, this is your 7th phase, 2005 to 2017, Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and the Wii.
Right. Right.
Yeah, and then the 8th generation or 8th phase is 2012 to the present, which is the Wii U, PlayStation 4, Nintendo Switch, and Xbox One, which is where we are now. But I know that both Sony and Microsoft are putting new systems out in 2021. I saw something.
I think it's before that because
I don't think so.
teenager was asking us.
Well,
for,
I think the
for
teenager
Christmas.
got. I think the teenager got his information incorrectly. I think it's later in 2021.
Quite true.
Yeah. I don't think they're quite ready for that to launch, but that's the timeline of video game systems, and
That's
there's all kinds of.
fascinating.
It's fascinating, and then television came out in 1979, and I played in television at my grandmother's house.
Your grandmother had video games in
Yes.
her house?
Yes,
Why?
I'm sure.
You were the oldest grandchild, so it wasn't for other
Yeah,
grandchildren.
it must
so
have been. I don't know. I have to ask my dad
That's interesting.
who purchased it. I mean, it came out in 1979. That's when I was born. So, you know, my dad was early 20s, so maybe
That's
it was for him.
interesting.
I don't know. But I'll have to ask. But that's the timeline. And do you know what's interesting about the history of Atari
Nothing.
and why it's connected to Chuck E. Cheese?
No.
You don't know this?
Why would I know
I
this?
thought this was common knowledge.
No.
I'm just kidding. I know
Oh.
it's not common knowledge. So the creator of Atari, Nolan Bushnell, also founded Chuck E. Cheese.
Did you listen to a podcast on the history of Chuck E. Cheese?
No, there was a podcast a while ago that did like a interview with Nolan Bushnell.
Oh, I think you told me about it. That's
but
right.
in
That's where I heard
my
about this.
in my research for today's, when I was
Gotcha.
looking up the history of video game systems, I was reminded about Nolan, and
Now I
in
want
fact,
pizza.
now you want pizza.
Not that Chuck E. Cheese pizza was good, but
So that's the history.
okay.
Right, the history. But
So
today,
that sort of mirrors sort of the history of electronics in general, right? Like cell
Yeah.
phones. Like I think if we put sort of a timeline of telephone communication up side by side with this timeline, it probably would pretty much mirror it in terms of advances and sort of jumps.
Right. Yeah, I think that's accurate. But today, Jenny, the
Yes,
online
Josh.
element is huge, right? Like it's the next level. It's not like you get a console and you're
You have
in your
a
home,
couple
you
friends
plug it
over.
in, good to go.
Mhm.
Right? Yeah, friends not over. Now, you can't start playing a game until it's downloaded. Even if you have a disc, you put it in and you can't start playing until it's downloaded. You have to be connected to the internet. And Xbox and both PlayStation have like online requirements, like Xbox has Xbox Live, and you have all these different online components that are required to play and to really enjoy the game. You know, you talked about cheat codes, right? When we were growing up, and you could get cheat codes out of magazines or comic books or something, but now you get all these upgrades and packs and all kinds of extras. And it really speaks to the genius of video game marketing now, and these companies that are putting these products out that require you to be connected online and to get all these downloads. And
Well, that speaks to sort of where like the brain stuff comes in,
Mhm.
right? Because that is where sort of the addictiveness comes in. This sort of massive multiplayer online setting.
yes,
So you're
yeah,
constantly able to sort of play with and against random strangers from everywhere,
Mhm.
and you can talk to them and connect to them if
Yeah.
you want to, or if you don't want to. Like last night, I played with you guys, and suddenly
you heard someone in your ear.
I
hole.
shot someone and he called me a bad name, and I was like, who is this person? And you and Jacob were like, oh, just, he can't hear us, just take your headphones
It's
off.
all good.
That was a little creepy. That's something I want to talk about. And not about the podcast necessarily, but in general. But so you've got this access to like a never-ending source of people to sort of play with and against and to be challenged by.
Mhm.
And so there's no real like end, right? Like there's no like end of the game, and these games release updates all the time,
All
right?
the
Like
time.
here's a new map, so just when you're getting bored of the game, here's a new map to go to, or here's a new I don't know, hardware or guns or cars or whatever it is that you're playing.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you're playing like Madden, right? The boys like, well, I guess not lately, but they were playing Madden for a while. New players, new player stats, trades, I don't really know, but it felt like stuff was always changing with that.
Yeah.
So it's
Oh, it is.
it's never evergreen. It's always changing.
Right, and I have nothing illustrates that point better. There's a phone affecting. There you go. Nothing illustrates that point better than Grand Theft Auto 5. I'm going to talk about that in just a second. But as we talked about in a previous, you gotta move that phone away from the mic.
I'm getting in trouble. Sorry.
And we talked about in a previous episode, the boys bought me my own Xbox for Father's Day this year. So they both have their own Xbox, and now we have a third Xbox in the house. And that speaks to the fact that now the definition of multiplayer is multi-console.
Right.
You can't have, it's really difficult. There's no, that we actually, when we first started getting the boys, you know, into Xbox, I think we had Xbox 360 or whatever.
We had a Wii. When we lived in our old
Yeah.
house, I don't remember a video game system that the boys used before our last house, but we would play Wii. I remember we would play Just Dance, right?
Yeah.
And Jackson would take his shirt off, and he would be like 6, and he would play Just Dance with the Wii.
Yeah.
So we had that, and then switched to, I guess, Xbox.
Right. Well, and the other element of that history with the boys, like they started to get older, we introduced Xbox, and it became more and more difficult to choose games that had multiplayer that all of us could play beyond just the two. Like I remember being in GameStop, being like looking at all the backs of the cartridge, like trying to figure out what game we could play for them. And now that's obviously not an issue because we all have our own consoles. But this online element is so prevalent so I have an Xbox, I've had it for a couple months now, and I have bought 0 hard, like, game discs. I don't have any game discs, but I have like 6 or 7 games on my Xbox that were downloaded.
Which, as a person who does not like clutter, I really appreciate that.
Right.
Right, and the discs would just get scratched anyway. So
everything is online dependent.
But can we back up? Like, why did you end up getting your own system? Right, you're 40 years old. You're not 41 yet.
Yes,
you're
I'm 40.
You're 40 years old, and you have, for Father's Day, the boys bought you your own Xbox One S, right? A refurbished one.
Mm-hmm.
So we weren't like super fancy. Because it was becoming an issue. You couldn't really play easily with them. So the boys have their own rooms, separate sides of the houses. They've got their own systems. And now you get to play with them. And I guess now I get to play with them as well.
Yeah. It's fun.
During quarantine.
Yeah, I want to talk more about that in a little bit and the benefits of us having that experience with them. But just to illustrate your point, I want to talk about Grand Theft Auto 5. Okay. Grand Theft Auto 5 was
You said this was like a big change, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Grand Theft Auto 5 was initially released in 2013. That's 7 years ago. And it is still being played today. It is 7 years later. They have not released a new one, but what they've done is being able to upgrade and upgrade and upgrade. They have now become the second best selling video game of all time, with over 135 million copies shipped, obviously, or downloaded. And it's one of the most financially successful entertainment products of all time. $6 billion worldwide in that one game.
Whoa.
It's mind-boggling to me.
What's
$6 billion
what's
worldwide.
the number one?
I don't know. I didn't look that up.
Ooh,
but
bad research.
Sorry, but I wanted to illustrate the fact that this is the reality of the current gaming situation. A game that released in 2013. In fact, they won a ton of awards, and last year, if you remember, they released like a new section of San Andreas that you go to, like the casino or whatever. Like that game upgrade won an award for like best game upgrade for that year or something. So they've been able to be, I mean, why?
So I get it, why it changes, why that changed things, right? But like rather than recreating the wheel and creating a brand new game, just sort of keeping that foundation and adding and expanding.
Right.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
It's working.
It absolutely
for them
is working.
in terms of making money.
And they've been like teasing Grand Theft Auto 6 for years now. And I think once it comes out, they'll do just even better. So, all right, we are going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about video game addiction. We're going to share some information from some Psychology Today articles. Is it bad? Is it good? What are the benefits? What are the scary outcomes? We'll talk about it.
Okay, cool.
So we will be right back.
Okay. Is something happening during the break?
Something's happening during the break.
Okay.
Yeah.
What?
This is for the live streaming. How are we doing on the live stream? Is everybody enjoying today's episode? I hope so.
Please don't ask that. I can't handle negativity right now.
Okay. So I have
What is this break activity?
It's for you. I have something special for you. I have a BuzzFeed quiz about Super Mario. It's entitled, which Super Mario character are you most like based on the cake you bake?
Okay, random. I need to write for BuzzFeed and just come up with random stuff.
Somebody is making a lot of money off silliness, which is pretty much the world.
Okay, let's go.
Okay, you ready?
Yes.
All right, which type of cake are you baking? Vanilla, chocolate, red velvet, carrot cake?
Vanilla.
What?
Hmm?
Hello?
What?
Are you Jenny?
Yeah.
What did you do with Jenny?
I like a vanilla cake with chocolate frosting.
Okay, that
Do I
just
get to
freaked
pick a
me out.
frosting?
I was like getting ready to check the chocolate.
Nope.
Okay, vanilla.
This is why our relationship works, because I keep you on your toes.
Yes. Are you following a cake recipe for this? No, I'm just winging it.
No, I'm using.
Hold on.
Okay.
No, I'm just gonna wing it. I guess I can look it up online. I have my mom's recipe ready to go. I have my own recipe, thank you very much.
I'm gonna look it up online.
I'm gonna look it up online.
If you can wing making a cake, you're a
You
superhero.
should have your own podcast
Yeah.
about baking cakes. How many layers would the cake have? 1, I'm not that fancy. 2, 3, or as many as possible.
3.
3 layers, okay. What Mario character do you want?
Princess
to be?
Peach.
Oh, okay. Choose a type of icing. Buttercream, royal icing, cream cheese, or fondant.
Buttercream.
Buttercream, really?
I don't like fondant. I don't like royal icing.
I would have thought you was cream cheese.
Not on a vanilla cake, though.
Okay. Which color would you make the icing? White, blue, yellow, or pink?
False chocolate. All right.
That's not a choice.
So, what are
False
the colors?
chocolate.
What are my choices?
White, pink, blue, or yellow?
I'm gonna go with pink. Nope, I'm gonna go with white.
White. Okay. Are you sure?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm getting a Luigi vibe off of you right now. Choose a topping for your cake. Sprinkles,
Luigi?
M&Ms, I was just being silly. Sprinkles, M&Ms, strawberries, or no toppings?
Sprinkles.
Sprinkles.
Are you making this cake for us today?
Maybe.
Okay.
Lastly, where are you planning on serving this cake? At my house for myself, at a party, my wedding, or at work?
Well, I live at my work, so, what was the options? A party?
At my house for myself, at a party, my wedding, or at work?
I don't like these options. I'm gonna say at my house for myself.
Okay.
I wouldn't bring a cake to a party.
You got Toad.
Awesome.
He's cute. Look.
I know what Toad looks like.
Look, the picture is really cute.
He seems happy. I suspect that if I had picked pink for the frosting, it would have given me Princess Peach.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, that was fascinating.
Wasn't it great?
No.
Now you're Toad.
Okay. Great, you're gonna call me Toad all day now?
Yes.
Perfect.
So we got a little bit of extra content for everybody. Now we're going to dive into
That
the
was cute, and
articles.
it tied into the topic. All right, that's cute. You win.
Okay, thanks. All right, part 2. Ready?
Uh-huh.
3, 2. All right, welcome back from the break, everybody. We hope you if you are listening to or watching the live stream, we hope you enjoyed the extra content you got during the break. For those that have not yet taken part in those, please join us next time. You can get some extra content. Okay, so we're going to talk about now the next level. Are video games bad, good? Are there issues? What is your raw like feeling as a parent, as a mental health professional? What is your first like initial instinct about this?
Pre-COVID, it was that they were bad, and I'm a horrible parent for letting my children play.
Right.
Post-COVID, or I guess during COVID, I'm so grateful that they had video games because, and in the way that they are right now, because it allowed them to stay connected with their friends, right?
Right.
Like on comms, talking to this. They were talking with their friends and collaborating with their friends during quarantine, and also with each other, just in different rooms. So they could be in, you know, both boys could be in their own rooms, in their own sort of setting comfortably, and still engage with each other. So
Right.
I actually see them as a positive. And since you got yours a couple months ago, I feel like it's been nice to watch, like, you, in particular, Jacob, our youngest, play a lot. And it's been good for me, right? Like, there's been some times where you've actually been out of the house working, and I have not had class or clients or anything, and him and I have played too. And it's been like
Right.
this nice, different way to connect, kind of speaking their language, right? Like,
Yeah.
we've talked about that on parenting episodes before. Like, you've gotta, it's really a great idea when you have teenagers or kids, to learn their language.
Right.
This is sort of their language, this is how they communicate right now. So in that respect, it's good, but I think with anything, it's all about sort of balance and individualizing things, and too much of really anything is a bad thing. So I think it comes with some risks, and it certainly has caused some conflict. You getting yours has caused some familial conflict in the past couple of months.
With regards to
Like last night, we had a date night and we were going out, and we were leaving in 10 minutes, and I was like, hey, you playing video games with our child, you're wearing pajamas right now and nothing is done. Are we going out on a date or not? And so that hurt my feelings.
I'm sorry.
I know we had this conversation.
Yeah, but I didn't know what you were talking about.
But there's been stuff like that.
I want to talk about, for a second, you said, speaking my language, like, I quite literally, like, video game verbiage and terminology is like a new language.
Oh yes, I have no idea. Like, I don't even know how, if I'm gonna play with you guys, I have to have someone set it up for me. I have no idea what I'm doing.
Here's the remote.
And you guys are like,
the controller. Here
just
you go.
hit Y. Stop touching the button. Stop. Just stop. But I'm getting better.
But I've found over the past month that I really start to understand now what they're saying, and I can like communicate with them.
Well, and I understand, like, when we would, before, you and I would be playing, and I would say, hey, can someone feed the dogs? And they'd be like, kid, I'm in the middle of the game. Now I understand it.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're in this, like, massive multiplayer online system with a timed game, with a timed start and a timed end.
And it kicks you out if you are inactive.
I get it now, so I understand that. Except now I have a third teenager in the house who's like, I can't do that right now because I'm in the middle of the game. It's lovely for me.
Yes. But you enjoy it too, though.
Yes.
Did you, a little while ago when we started the episode, did you talk about how there's some conflict that comes up in your sessions?
I did.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, just that it can also be a potential source of conflict even when you don't have children, right? Like, if there are two partners living together and one partner is playing video games and the other partner doesn't like it, doesn't want to, or doesn't want to as much, it can be a source of conflict, right? Because it is really easy to get addicted to it. And maybe not addicted in the way that, like, you need to go to a rehab and get treatment for it, but that, like, it's really hard for you to shut it down because there's always another game. There's no end. It's not like, okay, the system is going to sleep for the night, or you've done all of the battles, you've accomplished. There's no natural end. It's infinite. So it's really hard to pull yourself out of it. And so that can be hard for your partner. And if you're a teenager, you're under the age of 23 and your brain's still not fully developed and your executive functioning is not fully developed, boy, is it, like, literally hard for you to shut it off.
Yeah.
So it can become a source of conflict.
Right.
That doesn't mean, I don't think it means that, like, these are bad, they should be banned, they should be outlawed, they shouldn't be allowed in people's homes, we should stop allowing our kids to use them. But I do think that there needs to be some conversation around it.
Right. Yeah, I would agree with that. there are a couple of Psychology Today articles that I'm going to share. This first one is entitled "The Many Benefits for Kids of Playing Video Games. Think twice before limiting your kids' video play." This is written by Dr. Peter Gray from 2012, and he had a couple other articles on this.
Oh, it's interesting. That's a really old article.
Yeah, but it rings true for
Okay.
sure with what is in here. I read it and I connected with it. And basically, he talks a lot about how the research is just not good enough with regards to the negative benefits about whether or not kids get more depressed or kids are more violent or whatever. There's not enough good research out there.
But this is an article from 8 years ago.
That's true.
So when you're referencing an article from 8 years ago that says, here's my hypothesis and here's the support for it, the support is that there's no research out there not supporting it. It's 8 years old.
This
There's
is
been
an old
studies
article,
from
so since then there could have been more, but I guess the points he's making, I agree with. He
But I
talked
think those points have been rebuffed.
since then.
Mm-hmm. And the gameplay then wasn't what it is right now.
That's true.
Right? Like according to your
That's true.
timeline, was it 2013 that like GTA 5 came out? And this
Yes.
was 2012, so likely based on research prior to 2012.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
go back and find another source.
back and find another source.
Yes, don't put that in your paper.
Yeah, right.
That was
Right, you need
my
to take
my
your
college
professor
professor.
hat off.
That's a really
Well, he goes on to talk about computers are the most important tools of society. Why would we limit kids' opportunities to play with them? And it's really talks about the fact that
This was also written at a time before like all of the kids had cell phones and computers in their hand 24/7.
right. So I think that, but the points I still agree with. Like the frequency and the accessibility is different, but the points. So he goes on to say, why would you limit kids' computer time? If you limit kids' computer time, it would be like a hunter-gatherer adults limiting their kids' bow and arrow time, because it's the tools of the modern society.
I don't think video games are the tools of modern society.
I think computers and technology are.
But
for sure.
so you don't think kids' phone stuff should be limited at all?
No, I think it should be limited.
I mean, hunters gatherers. Boy, no disrespect to this author, but I disagree 1,000%.
That's fine.
Hunters gatherers, their bows and arrows were for survival, right? To like kill their food and eat it and survive. Phones, or in his case, video games. I don't know how we're making the connection to survival. In 2012.
But the tools of the modern society. That's his point. That technology and electronics and those are the tools of the modern society. So why wouldn't you let your kids have access and be comfortable with technology?
That's different than limiting. Having access and being comfortable with is
Right.
different than limiting. I think you can have access and be comfortable, but also have some limits and parameters. It kind of
So-
sounds like his hypothesis is like, it's totally great. Video games are great. That's how kids like survive.
He's one end
Don't-
of the spectrum for sure.
Yeah,
Right.
I don't like that end of it.
But-
I'm middle.
You're middle, but so he referenced a Pew Research Center.
Pew pew. From when?
I don't know. They concluded video games, far from being socially isolating, serve to connect young people with their peers into society at large. Do you think that that's not true?
I think
Are
that
there
is-
studies that
I think that
have
is more
refuted
true
that?
now.
You say it again. Sorry.
I think that is more true now, that it connects it connects kids to their peers more now than before.
Right.
Because certainly now in 2020, they're literally like on comms with each other, or they're FaceTiming each other, so they are connecting and actively playing games with each other when the world is shut down and they're, it's the middle of March and they can't see their friends face to face, but they could still play video games with them every day.
Right, exactly. Well, I think that the points of, a lot of people say that video games are socially isolating when we
Right,
know
they
that
were, right? Like
they
the
were.
older ones,
Right.
where it was just you in a room by yourself, maybe with
Mhm.
someone next to you. But now they're kind of the opposite of that.
Right. They talk about, he referenced other research that
But
you're going to
wait.
have issues with.
Before you go on,
Yeah.
I think that they can socially isolating is a broad term, right? Like you can still
Yes,
be
it is,
socially
yeah.
isolated even though you are playing a game with your friends every day for like 4 hours and you're talking to them and you're communicating with them, if you're still not like face-to-face socializing or socializing about other things, then that still could be pretty socially isolating.
Okay, that's a good point. But he said that in many ways, video games promote social interactions and friendships. Kids make friends with other gamers, both in person and online. They talk about their games with one another, teach one another strategies, and often play together, either in their same game or online together. And I think that's a good point. I mean, I think the argument against video games is that they are socially isolating, and then these days, like you just said, that they're not. That's completely opposite, and they could have been previously, but yeah, I mean, these articles are older, but again, I think that some of the points that he's making, I agree with. There's a lot of analogy between gambling addiction and video game addiction. What do you think? Do you think that's accurate? Do you think that if my 11-year-old is playing video games all the time, do I have to worry about him being a gambler down the road?
Theoretically, yes.
Yeah.
Right, like, so that study, that training that I participated in sort of talked about the connection. It's looking at brain chemistry and what happens to your brain when you're in the midst of these games, and compared it to gambling, and compared it to alcohol, and compared it to drugs. And it's all very similar in terms of like the rush that you get, that sort of, it's infinite. You always kind of want more. And yeah, I think that there's does that mean like if you have a kid or a partner who's really into video games, that you've got to watch out and be super worried about gambling or other kinds of addictions? No, but it is sort of addictive behavior, right? And it can sort of flip into escapism and a coping strategy, sort of a maladaptive, not healthy coping strategy.
Hiding others.
Yep. So if you've got
Things.
like a depression or an anxiety, or you're dealing with grief or social anxiety or social issues or whatever, the video games can be an escape. At some point, maybe the video games won't be accessible to you, but then maybe gambling will, maybe alcohol will, maybe pornography will, maybe drugs will. Like all that other stuff could sort of give you the same sort of input. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you reading your research right now? Because you're not looking at me.
No, yeah.
It's hard. Okay.
Yeah. That's normal.
I know.
That's normal. So when we talk about addiction,
Wait, I'm going to back up and add more to my answer. Sorry.
that's fine.
Also, kids, like I said before, brains aren't fully developed. Their ability to step away and sort of pull out of activating situation is really difficult. So I think it's our job as parents to help them navigate that discomfort, so that when they are older adults, when they're in that sort of quarter life crisis. I was talking with one of my clients yesterday about quarter life crisis, which happens for a lot of people. They go through elementary school, middle school, high school, and then they do some sort of trade school or high school or college or job training. And then somewhere around like 23 to 26, right after the brain becomes fully developed, they're like, crap, what is my life? Like, how do I be an adult?
Right.
Because we never really prepared them to be an adult. Like, how do I pay my bills? How do I do taxes? How do I buy a house? How do I save money? How do I actually work at a job I don't like?
Right.
What do I do now that this job I thought I wanted is not, that I decided to pursue at 16, is not what I want to do? Like, all of that is really hard. If the people around them haven't helped them develop some tools for coping, then they're going to turn to things like video games, drugs, alcohol, all that stuff, because it makes you feel good, right? Like it gives you that rush, that adrenaline rush, that like chemical reaction in your brain. It feels good and you want more of it.
Right.
And it is okay to a point, right? Like, we want to live our lives and be able to have that rush and have fun, but we don't want it to sort of flip into becoming an addiction and something that your life centers around.
Right. No, of course, and that's a good point, and I think that it's something to be on the lookout for. But do you think that there's lots of kids? Like, what is your assumption? Are there lots of kids in the world actually like clinically addicted to video games?
Yeah,
Really?
I think so.
I don't know if I agree.
Okay, why?
Because I feel like comparing it to gambling, right? Gambling is there much skill in gambling, right? I mean, I guess there could be, but
Yeah.
it's, I mean, if you think about like being at the slot machine and just pulling the lever over and over again, hoping that there's no skill there, right? And you just sit there and you don't pay attention to anything else in the world and you can't stop. Whereas video games
So
take skill.
That's interesting. I wonder if there's a difference between gambling addiction with what do you call those? I really should start eating before these. Slots versus like table gambling,
Yes.
where there is some
Yeah.
skill. So I guess I would guess my hypothesis would be that there's more likelihood for addiction at those more skill based ones like blackjack, poker.
There's more likely.
That's what I would think.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I would think the opposite.
Well, I would have to do some research.
Because there was some reason.
Because I would think like that, like there's this like I could get better.
Mhm.
I could outsmart the system. I can sort of work the system.
But is that when does it become like a bad thing? Because I look at that and be like, well, that's a good thing. Like the rewards aren't random in video games, whereas you're pulling a lever, it's random, right?
I think when does it become a bad thing? When it starts to impact other areas of your life, right? Like when your work starts to suffer, your relationships start to suffer, your physical health starts to suffer. You're not paying your bills, all that stuff. Like when it starts to sort of take over, that's when it becomes an issue.
Right.
So, but to your question, do I think that there are lots of kids that are addicted? Yeah, I do. I think that there are lots of kids that, unless they don't have parents who are saying like, no, seriously, shut it off, they would do that 24 hours a day.
You think so?
I hear a teenager because I hear coffee.
Oh.
I hear espresso brewing right now. We should bring him in and ask him.
I think our kids would do a nice job of pulling away.
I disagree.
Let's talk about it if you want to.
Sure.
But like I will, like for instance, Jacob has a nice balance of like, I know he needs to be more active for sure, like the rest of the quarantine world. But like I think he has a nice balance of video games, watching TV, and being creative and drawing on his computer.
That's true.
Like I really do think like I walked by
That's
his room,
true.
like I invited him to play last night. He kind of was hesitant about it, and I was like, if you don't want to, that's fine. He's like, oh, maybe I will in a little bit. But he was watching TV. Before that, he was drawing. So I think I look at addiction as like you have to pull a kid away from the machine.
Okay, that's fair.
100%. And I don't think our kids are even close to that, for sure.
But I would argue, I love our boys. I think that they're pulling they're pulling themselves away from the video game to some other addictive thing.
Okay.
Other sort of addictive, socially isolating thing, like television, watching. The drawing is great, but it's still sort of like in your room by yourself, right? They're not pulling themselves away to like go write a letter to a friend. I know that's totally not.
What?
It's
What
1972.
year is it?
We're like living on the prairie or something.
I'm gonna go write a note.
To go for a run or something. But also part of this is we're in quarantine right now. Like
Right.
we're still, we should be. Today should actually be their first weekend football practice.
Oh yeah.
This should have been it. This should have started last night, and then today they would have had practice, and then Monday, and then would have started daily stuff.
I just realized I haven't been on the Facebook video in a little bit, so I apologize.
Sorry. I'm doing a bad job monitoring.
That's okay.
So the structure, like that, the structure that should be, there's no structure. There's zero structure in their
Right.
life right now.
Right.
And,
No, that makes sense.
that's by, like, we don't have a bedtime for them right now. Like, that we're letting them self-regulate, which we're going to have to pull back on, because there
But
will be school of some sort.
I think that self-regulation in this setting has been good for them.
I agree.
I really do.
Yeah, I don't think
Yeah.
it's a bad thing. Like, you go to bed when you want to, you wake up when you want to.
Yeah.
It's not going to work in the real world.
Mhm.
So it's interesting. It sort of speaks to like how backwards the sort of education system is, and that like starting at 6 a.m. for high school kids
Yeah.
is not what their
Right.
bodies are sort of programmed to do.
Right. Naturally.
So many high school kids that I know, their bodies during this, like they've just sort of gravitated towards staying up later, sleeping in later. So I don't know where I was going with that.
Me neither.
Sorry. Again. I
It
need to
sounded
eat.
smart though.
I'm good.
So let's shift gears and talk about Memorgspz.
MMORPG. Nope. I think you say MMORPGs.
MMORPGs.
Massive multiplayer online role playing games.
Yes.
So we're talking about things like.
World of Warcraft, the OG.
I don't know what that is.
Oh my gosh. Alright, we're doing a video game episode and you don't know what a World of Warcraft is?
No, is that like Dungeons and Dragons except video games?
I think so.
Okay.
I never
So you don't
played it.
even
I just know what it is.
You
It
can't make
was
fun
a
of
movie
me.
that came out, but I know what it is.
What is it?
And I know it's an RPG.
Describe
game.
it.
It's a fantastical online multiplayer role playing game.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're talking. I guess we're talking about that, and we're talking about like Fortnite,
and actually Call of Duty,
Minecraft.
Minecraft, yes.
Minecraft is back. Minecraft has been this like
It's
weird, sort of like GTA, I think, in a way. Like it's very popular, and then the kids are like, "Ew, no," and then
Same thing with Fortnite.
they make some sort of cultural, I don't know, shift or something, and like the high school kids were playing it the other day. I was sitting in the living room so I could kind of hear what was going on. I wasn't knowingly eavesdropping, but I was. But I didn't do it I wasn't deliberately eavesdropping. But they were like gathering wool, like
Yeah.
chickens and building stuff and talking about which of their friends is really the best at designing buildings, which is kind of cool.
So we have a couple different articles to share, sort of on both ends of the spectrum, the benefits of MMORPG games, as well as the concerns. And there's this article from CNET.com, I Will Game, Anatomy of MMO Addiction. And I think this is interesting. I mean, this author compares it to like drugs, like cocaine, crystal meth, like that connection, that level of addiction, not being able to stop, getting hooked on World of Warcraft. He talks about he's a recovering MMO addict. He quit the game 3 times before it finally took. And I found that interesting. I mean, you feel like
So he quit completely.
World of Warcraft, yeah. I don't know. I mean, you think that? I just think it's. Are there some addictions that are not bad for you? I guess I want a more defined
Like what?
addiction. I don't know. Is it bad to have an online community that you're connected with? Like, I guess what was
If you're not able to find a healthy balance, yes.
Yeah. So you could become addicted to anything.
Mm-hmm. For
Running.
sure.
If you could, like,
Yes.
is that a bad thing to
It
get
could be.
addicted to running?
Right? Like if it blows out your knees,
Sure.
or
Okay.
it means that you're like skipping work to go for a run.
Okay.
Right? It could
So
be.
it's
All
not
of
the
this.
activity.
It's not. There's not a black and white answer. It's not like
This
you're
might,
addicted or you're not.
I might seem kind of like I'm a dummy here, but but that I just had this like light bulb. So it's not about the activity.
Right.
It's about what happens around the activity or the lack of thereof.
No, it's
Right.
about the impact that activity has on the rest of your life.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Like, are you losing relationships
Okay.
over it? Are
Right.
you? Is it the only thing you can think about?
Right.
So there are lots of people that can participate in activities that some people become addicted to, right? And they're able to do it in a balanced way, drinking, drug, all of that sort of, good input that feels good, releases those sort of chemicals in your brain. There are people that can find balance with those,
Right.
and there are people that can't. Like sugar. We can also say this about sugar, right? Like there are some people who know, if I have sugar, if I have that cake that we talked about during the break, so people that are listening to the podcast recording won't know this, but our live viewers, if I have that cake, then that's going to kick off that sugar release in my brain, and I'm going to want more, and I'm going to need more, and then it's going to be 2 weeks later, and I'm not going to be on my fake Peloton, I'm not going to be eating healthy, I'm not going to be eating salads, I'm not going to be avoiding carbs,
Right,
I'm
right.
going to be eating that cake every day because it started it, right? So there are some people that know that about themselves. I can't have sugar, or I can't have carbs, or I can't drink hard alcohol.
Right.
I can't drink beer, whatever it is. And so there are some people that like this guy that wrote the article, I can't play World of Warcraft. Where are you going?
I'm gonna upload
Oh.
I'm gonna switch the Instagram
Oh,
video.
okay.
Keep talking though.
It does. I don't know. I wonder where that one went. Maybe it was my personal one. So I feel like that was. I'm watching you now.
You can keep talking then.
Well, ask me another question because I feel like I answered your question. So you said that you sort of made the connection that it's not the actual activity, it's the sort of what it does
Yes.
to your life.
Yes, which is a big realization for me.
Big realization for Josh, he says.
Yeah.
He's, for those of you that are listening on the podcast, he is updating the recording for the Instagram, which must mean that we are past the hour mark. And he doesn't seem to know what he's doing.
I have no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah. This is fun. Do you want me to do that instead?
I'm gonna go live again. Are we sure this is the right account though?
Yep.
Yeah,
is
it was.
actually.
It was.
Okay. What was your other question? Did you have a next question? Or what was this guy in the article saying?
How do I go live?
Swipe right.
Swipe right.
Nope. Go to the homepage and then swipe right. Nope. There you go.
We're gonna cut this out of the episode.
So you're gonna edit that
I'm
part
gonna edit this part out.
Okay.
We're back live on Instagram, everybody.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, so that was a big realization for me. Just
So
now.
your understanding was that like it was about the actual activity
Right,
that was
right.
the problem.
Right.
No, it's about the balance of it in
Right.
your life.
So, why are MMORPGs addictive?
Which is also kind of why I'll get a little political here.
Go ahead.
I don't really think that we should be regulating a lot of things, whether it's gambling or drugs, any of that. Like, because it's not the actual activity that's bad,
Right.
There are some people that can have a balance around things.
Right, absolutely. But so why are MMORPGs addictive? And this CNET article talks a little bit about that. It talks first about collecting stuff. He refers to it as mad loot. Nobody knows why, but one of the strongest draws is collecting stuff. And I have to agree, because I'm now playing Call of Duty every day. It's my favorite game right now. And I just keep collecting new gun packs and stuff. Like, I just have stuff.
So that's interesting because last night when the three, you, me, and Jacob played, I think Jacob came out to set me up. And he was like, oh, you have all this, both of you were like, you have all this stuff. Like, I don't care. And you the other day were like, you should change your skin. I don't even know what you were saying. Your calling card or something. Like, I don't care. Like, that, my brain does not care about stuff.
Interesting.
At all. Like, it does nothing for me.
But that's...
I do care. I am somewhat, I guess, motivated by, like, ranking up. Like, the number rank is interesting to me. Like, that's, like... And I do like that there are kind of missions to unlock. That's how my brain is. It's not about the stuff. I guess it's about the accomplishments.
The accomplishments, yeah.
But that's how my brain works.
Yeah. He goes on to talk about exploration. So a single player game only offers you only so many places to go, where you're in these massive multiplayer games. There's expansions and packs and patches, and
it's infinite.
It's infinite, right? So the exploration, and then finally the camaraderie, and that's a big piece. I mean, for us, it's our family, but actually they're friends too. Like Jackson plays with his friends. It's this camaraderie. Even in normal multiplayer games, you can turn them off after a while when everyone's tired, doesn't want to protect the base or capture the flag and kill each other anymore. But he writes, a big enough MMO group can ensure that there will always be a handful of friends online, ready to adventure with you no matter what time it is. And that's an interesting, because we were playing the other day and you had asked a question like, oh, you can just log on whenever and there will be people. And it's like, well, yeah. There's at any time because it's worldwide.
Yeah, I was wondering, are there like slow points?
Right.
Because I would like to play when there are not really great people playing.
So no like expert gamers, a bunch of moms.
I don't want to play. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. My dream is to like, not like a huge like live stream, but I think it would be cool to sort of do what the girls did in that episode of Friends, where they all secretly learned how to become like poker sharks.
Yeah.
And then played a poker game with the guys, and Rachel like does the card shuffling things, and I would like to someday have the three of you be like, oh my god, you got so good, Mom, what happened? But also I don't care enough to actually make that happen. But that would be funny if a bunch of like moms started.
That's funny.
Playing.
Together,
like we took it over, kind of like the moms and dads have taken over TikTok. Yes.
I think there will be a child revolt if the moms take over Call of Duty. I just have to say.
I don't know. I'm kind of liking this idea now.
Yeah, right. The article that you were mad at me about, from Dr. Gray.
Not mad, just
I'm
disappointed.
kidding.
It's not very scholarly.
I actually didn't look at the date until just then.
Now you will.
Now I will. He writes a little bit more about this article about the benefits of MMORPGs. Where did that just go? That section. Because the other article talked about the negative effects and how people are so attracted to them, how they become addictive. But this article talks about the benefits. They're increasingly complex and multifaceted. They take great skill to be really good. And you become part of a group, and you have this sort of camaraderie and connection that he looks at it as something that's a positive thing.
I also think sort of problem solving, right? Like listening to the boys sort of figure this out, certainly when we play as well, but sort of listening to them sort of like in their natural habitat, and especially the official teenager here, like fighting with each other, right? Like being disappointed with each other, and then working that out is, I think, an important life skill.
He referenced a study commissioned by IBM. He concluded that the study concluded that the leadership skills exercised within MMORPGs are essentially the same as those required to run a modern company.
Yeah, it's gonna be really interesting to sort of see the long-term impact of like this generation. What we figured this out the other day. So Generation Z, our boys
Generation
are Gen Z,
Z,
and now then the younger ones are Alpha.
Yeah.
So this Gen Z, right? To I guess sort of end of the Gen Z generation, who are growing up with these MMORPGs, which just always makes me think of rocket-propelled grenades because of this.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see like how are they as workers, employees in the workforce, right? Like, do they do a better job problem solving? Do they do a better job negotiating sort of conflict with each other?
Right.
They probably don't do a better job having eye contact and direct communication with each other, but maybe we won't need that so much in wherever this future is
That's
heading.
true.
So yeah, I think there's some good stuff there. And like some serious conversations come out of it sometimes too with each other.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, it's funny. So we always try to encourage, like as with many younger sibling, our two boys, Jacob looks up to Jackson. Like he's a role model. He loves him. He looks up to him and wants to play with him. And we try to encourage. They naturally play together. When we left for our date night last night, they were playing together, talking together, and they naturally. But sometimes we have to encourage Jackson to join him. Like, hey, your brother wants to play with you.
That's true with any teenager. Like, hey, do you actually maybe want to see your family today?
Yeah, right. But some of the reason why he doesn't want to is because of the things his friends talk about. Like he's having conversations like with his friends that are private that he doesn't want his little brother to be a part of while they're playing a game. So I think that to your point, I mean that's a personal connection beyond what's being in front of them.
Right.
Beyond the content of the video game. The last article I want to talk about is from WebMD. It's entitled "Video Game Addiction," and it starts off with basically your point, asking yourself a few questions. Does your video gaming get in the way of other important things in your life, like your relationships, your job, or going to school? Do you feel like you've crossed the line between loving to play and having to play? Might you be used to might be you using gaming to avoid a deeper problem like depression? So just sort of bring it full circle to your point. There's lots of benefits, but lots of potential pitfalls that you have to be careful of. Like, do you feel like you have to play versus really loving to play?
Right.
Yeah. I think that was the last article I wanted to share.
What's the sort of takeaway here?
I think the takeaway is to lean into the new technology, understand that this is how the world works now. Online technology connecting with people in that way, especially during a global pandemic, but just in general. And understand that you can enjoy video games and make sure you have a nice balance. And like our kids, we try to have them have a nice balance of things. And
So, but what if you realize that you've got a kid or yourself, that it is sort of flipping into the other piece? Like, what happens if you realize we really can't have one of these in our house?
I don't know. That's a question for the professional sitting across from me. I have no idea. What's the next step, Jenny?
I think you talk about it, right? And you sort of figure out some other structure. Structure can always help. Structure and routine, so that you can sort of shorten the amount of allowed time for these activities, right? So maybe before they're sort of open-ended, and then sort of setting some firm start-end times for when it's okay for it to start and when it has to stop by, and then you sort of gradually kind of shrink those in.
Sure.
Or set up some sort of reward system, like you have to earn this escape by doing some other things, and building in some other coping strategies.
Do you have advice on how to plant a money tree in the backyard to pay for all the upgrades that the kids ask for?
Well, here's the ironic part, right? Is that there are a whole bunch of teenagers who become the money tree because they like stream their video, right? Like there's this whole like group of this Gen Z that has become like billionaires and millionaires because of playing video games.
Yeah.
Which is just, come on, get on that, kids.
Well, I mean, we talked about the Grand Theft Auto, but like the money connected to this industry is just.
Well, yeah, that's the other piece, right? Like that's our boys, like as they're earning money every week with chores or also helping out with other things, this is what they're spending their money on right now, right? It's not clothes, it's not sneakers, it's not trips to a pizza place or to a mall. It's buying these new video game things, which at the beginning of quarantine, I was like, this is stupid, please stop. And then I realized this is what brings them joy right now.
Yeah.
So as long as it sort of feels like it's an okay amount for us and it's tied to things that they're doing to earn it,
right.
I'm okay with it. And then when they start saying that they want other things, well, Jacob is using his money for other things right now.
Right.
But when they start sort of having these desires for other things, then they need to sort of pull back and save their money.
I mean, what's the difference between me getting my allowance money as a kid and going to the store buying candy and buying ice cream? I mean,
right.
What's really the difference?
Right.
Right. So.
Or like in high school, like going to like the mall and walking around for 2 hours with friends and having
buying
like
ice
orange Juliet. Yeah, I didn't drink those. I must have had Fribbles.
You must have had Fribbles. Okay.
Which is like a ice cream shake for those of you that are not in New England.
Yeah. Is there anything else? Any other final points for us? Kind of, you reached the end of our time here.
No, I don't know that there was actually sort of an outcome here, just to sort of open
Just
up some dialogue about it.
Yeah. And I know you were hesitant to talk about the history of video games, but I think you enjoyed it.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I think that you and I didn't talk about what the structure of the podcast would be, and I think my professor brain was like, what's the outline of today's session?
Yeah.
And I didn't know what the outline was.
Right.
That's just what it was.
All right, well, everybody, I think that's going to do it for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening. For today's show notes links, I have a bunch of different articles to share. The WebMD article, Psychology Today, the CNET, a couple other ones I actually didn't get to. There's one entitled Fortnite may be as addictive as heroin, and we can share that as well. Hey, if you would like to drop a review, an iTunes review, rate and review us. We will read them, the new ones, over the air. By reviewing and rating us in iTunes, it allows more people to be able to get changing perspectives. So go ahead and do that. Let's see, you can follow us on Facebook, everybody, at Changing Perspectives Podcast, and on Instagram at Changing Perspectives Blog. You can send us an email to changingpodcast@gmail.com. You can also visit the website by going to changingperspectivesblog.com, and while you're there, don't forget to visit the shop to check out all of that great Changing Perspectives merchandise. You can also head to jennybrennan.com and sign up for Jenny's newsletter, and subscribe to the show so you'll never miss an episode, and we will see you next time. Say bye, Jenny.
Bye, Jenny.
Okay, the recording's over.
Okay.
We're still live though.
Okay. Ow.
You okay?
I have a broken thumb now.
Did you just pinch yourself on the mic stand?
Yeah, when you move it, I guess it
Oh, man.
compresses. Are we done?
Do we cover all the comments on Facebook?
Yeah, there weren't really a lot. And
Okay.
I don't know about Instagram. I was never able to find
We have to figure that
the
out.
video.
We have to figure that piece out.
Yeah.
Okay.
The video's there now, but I couldn't like watch it in lifetime, so
Okay.
I'll
Awesome.
have to figure that out. That will be so the improvement this week from last week was that I figured out how to get the Facebook and Instagram feeds on a different phone because it's not my phone.
Yeah.
So we can have a third phone in the mix. The next takeaway will be to figure out how to actually view the live stream of the Instagram.
Yeah, we have to Google that or something because I don't know what the.
Don't worry, I'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. All right, everybody.
I think that's it.
That's it.
You want to go shut them off?
We'll see you next time.